Chapter 4, Lesson 4, The French and the Dutch, page 166. You are there. The year is 1608, and you're traveling with your father on a trading mission. Your people, the Huron, have started trading furs with the French. When you arrive at the trading place, you sit quietly and watch. The men use hand signals to communicate. When a trade is agreed on, they nod their heads. Your father has brought several furs to trade, so you expect to take many new things back home. You just hope you'll be able to carry them all. Page 167, New France. While Spain and England were building colonies in North America, France was also claiming land in what are today Canada and the northeastern United States. French claims to this region, which became known as New France, began with Jacques Cartier. He explored the St. Lawrence River in the early 1500s. He also started a trading partnership with the Huron people. French merchants wanted the wealth that came from the fur trade. The French king wanted to add to his country's power. He pushed merchants to start colonies in North America. In time, a group of merchants hired Samuel de Champlain to find a place to build a settlement. In 1608, Champlain founded Quebec along the St. Lawrence River. Quebec was the first French settlement in North America. In the 1630s, French Catholic missionaries began arriving in New France. These missionaries often lived with Native Americans and learned their languages. The aim of the missionaries was to convert the Native Americans to the Catholic religion. Some French fur traders also lived with the Native Americans. They learned their languages and ways of life. Since these traders spent much of their time trapping and hunting, they did not build many long-lasting settlements. Unlike the Spanish and English colonies, New France grew slowly. Most French people were not interested in moving to North America. In the 1600s, the French built only two main settlements in all of North America, Quebec and Montreal. By 1625, the population of Quebec had grown to only about 60 people. Page 168, New Netherland. Not long after the English started colonies in North America, the Dutch began to settle their own colony. They called it New Netherland. They built settlements along the Hudson River in parts of what are now New York and New Jersey. The Dutch set up a colony in order to profit from the fur trade. The demand, or desire, for furs was high. The Dutch traded with the Native Americans, adding to their supply of fur. Supply is the amount of good that is offered for sale. When the demand for a good is high and the supply of a good is low, the price of the good usually goes up. By 1626, Peter Minuit was governor of New Netherland. During this time, the Dutch believed they had bought Manhattan Island from the Native Americans who were living there. As in other places, the Native Americans' ideas about land were different from those of the new settlers. They believed that the land was for all the people to use, and that nobody could own the land. They thought the Dutch were paying them only for use of what was on the land. In 1626, the Dutch began laying out a town on the south end of Manhattan Island. They called the settlement New Amsterdam, after the city of Amsterdam in the Netherlands. New Amsterdam was built next to a harbor where the Hudson River flows into the Atlantic Ocean. Page 169. This was a good place for trade. Ships could sail down the Hudson to New Amsterdam to drop off their furs and to get supplies. Ships waited in the harbor to carry the furs to Europe. By the 1630s, New Amsterdam had about 200 people and 30 houses. There were warehouses for storing food and furs. For protection, the Dutch built a fort with high walls made of stone. In 1638, Swedish settlers founded the colony of New Sweden to the south of New Netherland. New Sweden included parts of present-day Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware. When the Swedes began building homes, the Dutch worried that these new settlers would enter the fur trade. Dutch colonists and the Algonquian, who lived nearby, had a strong fur trading relationship. This relationship would soon face trouble. By the late 1630s, conflicts with the Native Americans had grown because the settlers had cleared more land for farms. The colonists and the Native Americans attacked each other's farms and villages. The colonists that sent out an army that destroyed Native American villages all over New Netherland. In 1645, after many colonists and Native Americans had been killed, the two sides signed a peace treaty. By then, the Algonquian of New Netherland had almost been wiped out. Page 170. Exploring New France. As English and Dutch colonists moved into parts of New France, fighting over the fur trade began among the settlers. Native American groups also fought with each other. Both the Huron and the Iroquois tribes wanted to control lands in present-day Canada. The Huron were allies or partners with the French. The Iroquois were partners with the Dutch and the English. Fighting between these groups nearly destroyed the Huron population and the French fur trade. Marquette and Joliet. The new French king, Louis XIV, did not want to lose France's North American lands. To protect them, he made New France a royal colony. Then he sent out more explorers to find a river west of Quebec called the Mississippi, meaning Father of Waters. He hoped the Mississippi would prove to be the Northwest Passage. In 1673, a small group led by a Catholic missionary Jacques Marquette and fur trader Louis Joliet set out to find the Mississippi. With help from Native Americans, they found the Mississippi. However, because the river kept taking them south, they knew it was not the Northwest Passage. They floated down the river to the present-day state of Mississippi. There, they met some Native Americans who told them that Europeans lived further south. Fearing the Europeans might be Spanish soldiers, the French turned back. Founding Louisiana. Later, French explorer René Robert Cavelier, known as Sieur de La Salle, set out to find the mouth of the Mississippi River. In 1682, La Salle led an expedition that traveled south from the Illinois River. During the difficult trip, a member of the expedition wrote that, after running out of food, they were living only on potatoes and alligators. After 2 months, the explorers reached the mouth of the Mississippi at the Gulf of Mexico. La Salle claimed all of the Mississippi River Valley for France. He named the region Louisiana in honor of King Louis XIV. In 1684, La Salle tried to start a settlement near the mouth of the Mississippi River. Hardships led to disagreements among the settlers. 3 years later, La Salle was killed and the settlement failed. Louisiana, page 172. The French king then sent another expedition to Louisiana. Pierre Le Moyne and his brother Jean-Baptiste reached the northern coast of the Gulf of Mexico in 1699. Soon after, they found the mouth of the Mississippi River. The members of their expedition built a settlement along the river. In time, more settlers came, but they experienced many of the same hardships that La Salle had faced. In 1712, the French king made Louisiana a proprietary colony. This meant that he gave the whole colony to one person who would own it. In 1717, John Law, a Scottish banker, became Louisiana's owner. Law started a company to build plantations and towns. He also brought in thousands of new settlers. In 1722, New Orleans, one of the colony's first towns, became Louisiana's capital. Settlers built levees or earthen walls to protect the low-lying town from floodwater. Despite Law's efforts, the colony still needed more workers. Many plantation owners brought in enslaved Africans to do the work. The French government soon passed laws that limited where Africans in Louisiana could live and what kinds of work they could do. Page 173. Like the rest of New France, Louisiana failed to attract many people. This made it difficult for France to control its lands in North America. By 1763, there were only 80,000 French colonists living in North America. By the same year, there were more than 1,500,000 English colonists in North America.